Don't miss new episodes of So What Happened To, Saturday mornings on RatedEm.
Xbox has always struggled with incorporating non-Western games into their promoted catalog. While PlayStation and Nintendo have a diverse selection of games from various studios from various locations, Xbox's games are pretty much only developed in the West, and some fans, including myself, have lamented their frustration with the lack of diversity. In the mid-2010s, Xbox promised to change that. They announced the development of an action RPG alongside Japanese hack-and-slash legends Platinum Games. Scalebound was set to be the first game in a growing movement by Xbox to include more games from outside the Western sphere into their catalog. However, Scalebound never came to fruition. It was abruptly cancelled despite the hype from fans. So what caused the game to get cancelled? Why didn't Scalebound make it through development? Welcome back to Game Graveyard, where we answer questions like these for various unreleased games. Today we're talking about Xbox's Scalebound. So let me first give context as to what Scalebound was going to be. As mentioned earlier, it was going to be an action RPG for the Xbox One developed by Platinum Games, who developed Bayonetta, Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, and Nier Automata. They're primarily a hack-and-slash developer, but Scalebound was going to have those hack-and-slash flavors that Platinum is known for serving, alongside a bigger emphasis on RPG mechanics. It followed a character named Drew, who explored a fantasy world alongside his dragon companion, Thuban. Drew and Thuban would have been mortally linked, so if Thuban dies, Drew dies, hence Scalebound. Thuban would have been an AI companion, but the player could order commands at him if they needed him to specifically do something. Otherwise, Thuban would react to combat entirely on his own. Not much is known about the plot or further gameplay mechanics outside of a standard action RPG leveling system. I can't really infer about the story, but in terms of gameplay, you likely would have had to accumulate some points that you could use to purchase new moves for Thuban and Drew to use in combo attacks. The game was actually pitched around the time Bayonetta started development, but Platinum needed all hands on deck for Bayonetta, so they left it on the shelf. The idea of Scalebound sat around for a while, with multiple revisions to the game's main gimmick being made over time. At one point, it was set to be a dinosaur game instead of a dragon game, and would have been more akin to an RTS, where players would order their dinosaurs around in combat. This version of the game was also set to be released for the Wii exclusively, rather than the Xbox 360 or PS3. It wasn't until 2013 when the game would be reconsidered after Microsoft took interest in the game's idea and offered to fund it. After some deals being made, the game was revealed at E3 2014 as an Xbox One exclusive. A year later, gameplay would be shown at Gamescom 2015 next to Quantum Break and Crackdown 3. Two games that were also prevalent in selling the Xbox One's raw power compared to other consoles of the generation. The game was set for a 2016 release window, but was then delayed to 2017. However, right at the start of 2017, Platinum Games abruptly announced that the game was cancelled with no explanation at first. It wasn't until a few years later in 2019 where we would get insight as to why the game was cancelled.
Need a new form of entertainment in your life? Join the thousands of others who have considered subscribing. Side effects may include joy, laughter, and newfound knowledge about video games. Talk to your doctor about if subscribing is right for you.
In 2019, Platinum Games' Atsushi Inaba would shed light on the game's cancellation. He mentioned it was unfair to push all the blame onto Microsoft, as it was equally both the developers and the publishers at fault. It hasn't been revealed what part Microsoft played in the game's cancellation, but Platinum Games had a few reasons of their own as to why they couldn't deliver the final product. The first reason is that the developers were simply not skilled enough. The game utilized Unreal Engine 4, which Platinum Games had very little experience in. A lot of their games, such as Bayonetta and Metal Gear Rising, all used Platinum's very own engine. The developers just weren't as well versed in how Unreal Engine 4 worked, and couldn't integrate features as easily or to the level of quality as they could with their own engine. Platinum Games also had little experience integrating online functionality into their games, which was likely something Microsoft requested. On top of the inability to create a game that they were satisfied with, they were scared that the game would let down the die-hard fans who were hyped for Scalebound. They simply could not create a game that they were satisfied with, or a game that they knew the fans would be satisfied with. Because of these reasons, alongside the unknown Microsoft reasons, Scalebound never saw the light of day. People have been begging for Microsoft to return to the idea, but Personally, I think it's unlikely. It's also been said that elements of Scalebound made their way into Bayonetta 3. I'm not sure which elements, but apparently that's the case. With these elements being repurposed into a different game, I think it's unlikely we'll see Scalebound again. If you want to check out more episodes of Game Graveyard, you can check them out right here on my channel. And if you like this style of videos, feel free to subscribe to catch them when they go live.